Before we dive into this incredible story, make sure you're part of our journey. Hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and get ready for a story that will leave you thinking. And if you love inspiring tales, a like goes a long way. Look at those shoes. Did your family find them in a dumpster? The words cut through the cafeteria noise like a knife. Laughter erupted as cell phones rose to capture the moment. The boy's face flushed crimson as he clutched his lunch tray tighter, eyes fixed on his worn sneakers. Around him, the private academy's cafeteria gleamed with polished marble and mahogany, a stark contrast to his frayed uniform cuffs. Teachers glanced away, their silence a tacit permission. Behind the crowd, a tall figure in a simple black suit paused at the entrance. Keanu Reeves had arrived early for the charity award ceremony, but what he witnessed now would change everything about this day. And everyone in this room. If this moment made you feel something, imagine what's coming next. Hit that like button and stay with us. Subscribe now. Tyler Matthews had been attending Westfield Academy on scholarship for 3 months now. Each day was an exercise in invisibility. Head down, voice quiet, movements calculated to avoid attention. His mother had worked double shifts for weeks to afford even the second-hand uniform that was now fraying at the edges. But today, invisibility had failed him. "Hey, Goodwill, smile for TikTok," called out Blake Anderson, son of a tech mogul, as he circled Tyler like a predator. "Maybe we can start a charity for you, too." 5 other boys in pristine uniforms formed a tightening circle, their laughter echoing off the vaulted ceilings. 2 girls at a nearby table giggled as they added filters to the videos they were capturing. The humiliation was being broadcast in real time. Miss Harrington, the English teacher who had championed Tyler's scholarship application, pretended to organize papers at her table. Mr. Phillips, the vice principal, suddenly found his phone fascinating. The cafeteria staff looked on with pained expressions but remained behind their counters. In the world of Westfield Academy, the Andersons donated buildings, and the Matthews family existed on the periphery. "Please," Tyler whispered, his voice barely audible as soup sloshed over his tray onto his only white shirt. "I just want to eat lunch." "Oh, it talks," Blake mocked, drawing exaggerated gasps from his entourage. "What else can it do? Show us how you dig through garbage." The crowd had grown now, with younger students pushing forward to witness the spectacle while older ones watched with uncomfortable smiles, too afraid of social suicide to intervene. The security guard near the entrance shifted uncomfortably, his eyes meeting Keanu's for a brief moment before looking away in shame. Keanu had arrived 30 minutes early for the ceremony where he would present Westfield's annual philanthropy award. The irony wasn't lost on him as he observed the scene unfolding, a school being celebrated for charity while allowing this cruelty to flourish within its walls. He'd experienced enough bullying in his own youth to recognize its corrosive power. Through the years, despite fame and success, he'd never forgotten how it felt to be the outsider. Something in the boy's dignified silence amid such vicious ridicule stirred a deep recognition in him. Keanu remained still, observing, his presence yet unnoticed by the students focused on their prey. The tray in Tyler's hands began to tremble visibly as Blake reached out to tug at his frayed collar. Things are about to take a turn. Don't miss what happens next. Subscribe, like our video, and keep watching. "Let me give you a makeover," Blake sneered, grabbing a carton of chocolate milk from a nearby tray. "This might actually improve your look." The crowd tensed with anticipatory excitement. Tyler closed his eyes, bracing himself for the humiliation to come. "I wouldn't do that if I were you." The voice was quiet, but carried an unmistakable weight that cut through the cafeteria noise. Heads turned in unison toward its source. Keanu Reeves stepped forward, his movement deliberate and unhurried. He wasn't wearing the expression of a Hollywood star arriving for a photo opportunity. This was the focused intensity of John Wick, tempered with a calm dignity that belonged entirely to the man himself. "Mr. Reeves!" Miss Harrington gasped, suddenly finding her voice. "We weren't expecting you yet. The ceremony isn't until—" "I know when the ceremony is scheduled," Keanu replied, his eyes never leaving Blake's face. The milk carton in the boy's hand remained suspended midair, his expression frozen between confusion and the dawning realization of being caught by someone whose face adorned posters in his own bedroom. The milk carton lowered slowly as a ripple of whispers swept through the cafeteria. Phone cameras swiveled from Tyler to Keanu, the previous entertainment forgotten in the presence of authentic celebrity. Mr. Phillips suddenly materialized, hand extended, a practiced smile plastered across his face. "Mr. Reeves, what an honor. We can show you to the preparation room right away." Keanu raised a hand, gently declining the offer without taking his eyes off the situation. "I'd like to understand what I just walked into first." There was no accusation in his tone, just a simple statement that commanded an honest response. "Just kids being kids," Blake's friend Jeremy offered with a nervous laugh. "We were just joking around." "Is that what was happening?" Keanu asked, finally turning his attention to Tyler, who stood frozen, lunch tray still clutched in white-knuckled hands. "Were you all sharing a joke?" The question hung in the air. No one spoke. Tyler's eyes remained fixed on the floor as if willing himself to disappear. The silence stretched uncomfortably until Keanu stepped closer to him. "What's your name?" Keanu asked quietly. "Tyler," came the barely audible reply. "Tyler Matthews." "Tyler, would you mind if I join you for lunch?" The simple question carried enormous weight. The entire cafeteria seemed to hold its breath. Before Tyler could respond, Blake found his voice again, social instincts overtaking his momentary shock. "Mr. Reeves, you should sit with us instead. My father's company sponsored today's event. We have much better—" He caught himself before saying food, but the implication hung in the air. Keanu turned to Blake, his expression not angry, but genuinely curious. "Better what?" The boy faltered, color rising to his face. The same audience that had eagerly consumed Tyler's humiliation now watched Blake squirm. "I believe your father's company sponsored the Philanthropy Award," Keanu said. "Do you know what philanthropy means, Blake?" The cafeteria had gone so quiet that the distant sound of traffic outside could be heard. Even the lunch staff had stopped their work to watch the scene unfold. Some students had begun to lower their phones, sensing that they were witnessing something more significant than viral fodder. This story is only getting deeper. What would you do in this situation? Comment below, and let's talk. "It means," Blake stumbled, "helping people who need it." "That's right," Keanu nodded, his voice remaining gentle. "The word comes from Greek, meaning love of humanity. Not love of people who dress a certain way or whose parents have a certain job. Just love of humanity." He turned back to Tyler. "May I?" He gestured to the empty seat beside the boy. Tyler nodded, disbelief etched across his face. As Keanu sat down, the symbolic weight of his choice resonated throughout the room. A line had been drawn. "I packed my own lunch today," Keanu said, producing a simple brown paper bag from his jacket. "It's something I do sometimes to stay grounded." He pulled out a sandwich, unwrapped it, and began eating as if this were the most natural thing in the world. Miss Harrington was the first teacher to move, walking deliberately to sit across from them. "Tyler's one of our scholarship students," she said, her voice stronger now. "He's top of his class in English literature. Is that right?" Keanu looked genuinely interested. "What are you reading now?" "The Outsiders," Tyler answered, his voice growing slightly stronger, "by S.E. Hinton." "Stay gold, pony boy," Keanu quoted with a smile. "I've always loved that book. It says a lot about what really matters, doesn't it?" More students began drifting toward their table, drawn not by celebrity but by the authenticity of the moment. A girl from Tyler's math class hesitantly sat down nearby. Then another student. The invisible barriers were crumbling. "I noticed your shoes," Keanu said, surprising Tyler. The boy tensed until Keanu continued. "They remind me of ones I had when I was about your age. I used to put cardboard in them when the soles wore through." He glanced around the table. "Not everyone starts at the same place in life, but we all deserve the same respect." The vice principal had begun ushering Blake and his friends away. Their moment in the spotlight transformed into something they hadn't anticipated. Several phones were still recording, but the energy had completely changed. "Can I ask you something, Mr. Reeves?" Tyler said, finding courage as the atmosphere shifted. When Keanu nodded, he continued, "Why did you do this? You don't even know me." Keanu considered the question carefully before answering. "When I was growing up, we moved around a lot. I was always the new kid, sometimes the poor kid. I know what it's like to feel like you don't belong." He paused, making eye contact with several students around the table. "But here's what I learned. The clothes people wear get old. The phones they carry become obsolete. The cars they drive break down. But how you treat people, that lasts forever." A profound silence followed his words. Even the teachers seemed to be absorbing the lesson. The security guard who had watched without intervention earlier approached their table. "Mr. Reeves," he said quietly, "I want to apologize to you, and especially to you, Tyler. I should have stepped in. I'm sorry I didn't." "It's never too late to do the right thing," Keanu replied, extending his hand. The guard shook it, then offered his hand to Tyler, who accepted it with newfound confidence. "It's not over yet. The best part is coming. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss it." By the time the lunch period ended, Tyler's table had become the center of the cafeteria. Students who had never spoken to him were engaged in genuine conversation. Several had apologized for their past silence. Ms. Harrington was animatedly discussing a potential literature club with Tyler taking a leadership role. In a corner, Mr. Phillips was having a serious conversation with Blake and his friends. Their expressions suggested they were experiencing consequences, perhaps for the first time. Two girls who had been recording earlier approached Tyler awkwardly. "We deleted the videos," one said, unable to meet his eyes. "And we wanted to say sorry." Tyler nodded, saying simply, "Thank you." Something had changed in his posture, a newfound straightness to his spine, a lifting of his chin that hadn't been there an hour ago. As they walked toward the auditorium for the ceremony, Keanu placed a hand lightly on Tyler's shoulder. "Would you like to help me present the award? I think you understand the true meaning of philanthropy better than most people in this building." Tyler's stunned expression gave way to a genuine smile, perhaps his first since entering Westfield Academy. "I'd be honored, Mr. Reeves." "Just, Keanu is fine," he replied. Behind them, the social landscape of Westfield Academy was being subtly rewritten. Students who had previously ignored Tyler now glanced at him with new interest. Teachers who had looked away were now confronting their own complicity. Blake and his friends walked with hunched shoulders, their social currency suddenly devalued. The ceremony would proceed as planned, But nothing would be quite the same. Already, phones were lighting up beyond the school walls as the story began spreading. Not the humiliation that had been intended, but something far more powerful. 3 hours later, the video had gone viral, not of Tyler's humiliation, but of Keanu's quiet intervention and powerful words. Comments flooded in from around the world, many sharing similar experiences of bullying and isolation. The hashtag #HowYouTreatPeople was trending. That evening, Tyler's mother received a call from the school board president, apologizing and offering to implement an anti-bullying program that Tyler would help design. 3 teachers had separately reached out with personal apologies. As Tyler finished his homework that night, a package arrived. A new pair of shoes with a simple note, "For the cardboard days. They'll pass. Your character won't. K.R.R." He placed them carefully beside his bed, but it wasn't the shoes themselves that mattered. It was the reminder that sometimes, when you least expect it, someone sees your worth. Not for what you wear or where you come from, but for who you truly are. Wow, what a story. If this moved you, imagine what else we have for you. Hit that like button, drop a comment, and let us know what you think.